There comes a moment in every life when the silence gets loud, when the distractions fade and all that's left is you and the mirror. No applause, no critics, just the reflection staring back, waiting for an answer. And in that stillness, in that breath between one heartbeat and the next, you realize the war was never out there. It was always in here. The battle between what you want now and what you want most, between the craving for comfort and the calling for greatness. That is the war, and self-discipline is the sword. Not the shiny kind forged in fire, but the quiet one, hammered in repetition, cooled in sacrifice, and sharpened in silence. Most people never find it. They chase motivation like it's fuel, but motivation is a spark. Self-discipline is the engine. You see, motivation asks, "Do I feel like it?" Discipline whispers, "It doesn't matter." Because greatness doesn't wait for moods. Excellence doesn't punch a time clock. And purpose doesn't show up only when it's sunny outside. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't want to do it. It's waking up early when the bed begs you to stay. It's staying late when the world has already clocked out. It's choosing the pain of growth over the numbness of escape. But here's the truth. They don't tell you. Discipline is not punishment. It's liberation. Because every time you choose discipline over desire, you earn back a piece of yourself. You become someone you can trust. You build a backbone, not a wishbone. And when the world starts to shake, as it always does, it's not talent that holds the line. It's not charm or luck or applause, it's discipline. Discipline is the bridge between dreams and reality, the steel cable between intention and action. And without it, you drown in the ocean of your potential, never touching the shore of your promise. But it begins where most people quit, right at the edge of resistance, that uncomfortable place where excuses get louder and the mind starts to lie. Just this once. You've earned a break. No one will know, but you will. And that's the only voice that matters. Because when you violate your own standards, you don't just break a habit, you break trust with yourself. And nothing is heavier to carry than the weight of your own betrayal. So you have to rise, not once, but every single day. Like the sun that never needs a reason, like the tide that doesn't ask for permission. You rise. Because that's what discipline does. It's not about the big dramatic gestures. It's not about being perfect. It's about the grind, the grit, the grind again. It's saying no when the world begs you to say yes. It's showing up after failure, heartbreak, or doubt. Not because you feel invincible, but because you refuse to be conquered. That's the moment discipline reveals its true face. Not in the highlights, but in the shadows. Not when everyone's watching, but when no one is. Because discipline isn't loud, it's not sexy. It doesn't get headlines, but it builds empires in silence. It carves kings and queens out of chaos. It molds warriors from weakness, and it turns ordinary souls into extraordinary legends. But it demands something in return, a mindset unshaken by comfort, a belief that you were born to build, not to beg, a clarity so sharp it cuts through doubt like glass, because you can't be disciplined without a why. So what is yours? Because without clarity, discipline becomes cruelty. You must know why you're bleeding. You must know what stands on the other side of the sacrifice. Is it freedom? Is it mastery? Is it legacy? Find it. Name it. Burn it into your bones, because that vision will be your compass when the path turns dark. And it will. Discipline doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger. You'll face days where quitting makes more sense, moments where your efforts feel invisible, nights when the dream feels too far. But remember this, the seed breaks before it blooms. The sculptor cuts before the statue stands. The champion suffers long before the spotlight. So let the world sleep. Let them chase shortcuts. Let them scroll and drift and drown in distraction. You build quietly, Build patiently. Build relentlessly. Not for applause, but for alignment. Not for perfection, but for progress. Not to impress others, but to meet the person you were meant to be. Because that version of you is not found. It is forged. In sweat, in silence, in sacrifice. And the hammer is self-discipline. You want to change your life? Don't wait for motivation. Don't pray for inspiration. Choose the hard thing over and over again until it becomes the only thing. Because freedom isn't found in comfort. It's found in commitment. And every time you keep a promise to yourself, you rise. You rise above your fears, your laziness, your past. You rise above the noise, the doubt, the delay. You rise. Because discipline doesn't bend. Discipline doesn't beg. Discipline doesn't break. It builds. And what it builds is you. So build you must, but not with rage, not with ego, not with desperation. Build with intention, because discipline without direction is just slavery, but discipline with purpose, that's power, that's freedom, that's peace. And peace is not some soft, delicate feeling. Peace is standing in the storm and saying, I've trained for this. It's looking your fears in the eye and whispering, try me. It's choosing the hard path, not because it's heroic, but because you finally understand. Ease is a liar. Comfort is a cage, and every dream worth living requires a toll to be paid in effort, sacrifice, and time. Self-discipline is that toll, and it's not something you're born with, it's something you choose. One representative, one page, one promise, one day. You choose discipline like you choose breath. Not because it's glamorous, but because the alternative is death. Not of the body, but of the soul. The slow death of potential. The aching death of regret. The bitter death of knowing you had it in you. But you never reached for it. Because reaching takes risk. It takes rejection. It takes failure. But discipline turns failure into fuel. It turns I can't into not yet. It turns I'm tired into let's go. Discipline makes you dangerous, not to others, but to your own excuses, to the part of you that wants to stay small, to the voice that whispers, be realistic, because discipline doesn't do realistic. It does results. It does reps while others rest. It does early mornings, late nights, cold showers, tight budgets, long climbs. It does boredom. It does routine. It does the same damn thing again, and again until mastery bends down and shakes your hand. But it won't happen all at once. Discipline is not a light switch. It's a candle. You guard it from wind. You shield it from the rain. You protect it from the storm until it becomes a fire so fierce nothing can blow it out. Not criticism, not failure, not loneliness, not even time. Because time will try to break you. It will test your patience. You'll plant seeds that don't bloom for months, even years. You'll water dreams that look like dust. But discipline keeps you moving, not because you see the finish line, but because you trust that it exists. And that's what separates the few from the many. The many want proof. The few have faith. Faith that every step matters. Faith that progress hides inside repetition. Faith that pain is not punishment, it's preparation. And if you hold that faith long enough, you'll reach a place most never find, a place where discipline becomes desire, where the grind becomes a gift, where the hard things feel holy, where you don't just endure the work, you crave it, because it's in the work that you meet yourself, the real you, the you that doesn't quit. The you that shows up tired, sore, and scared, but shows up anyway. The you that doesn't need applause. The you that doesn't chase permission. The you that walks into the storm, not because you love the pain, but because you've learned to love what it produces. And what it produces is power. A quiet, unshakable power. The power to delay gratification, to sacrifice now for something sacred later. To say no to mediocrity and yes to your highest self. That's the gift of discipline. It doesn't just change your habits, it transforms your identity. Because when you do hard things, you stop seeing yourself as weak. You stop living like a victim. You stop negotiating with your potential, and you start standing tall. Not arrogant, not loud, just certain. Certain that no matter the obstacle, no matter the odds, you will not fold. You will not run. You will not disappear. Because you've already done the work in private that others avoid in public. And that's where the real glory lives. Not in the lights, not in the likes, but in the quiet, consistent moments when no one's watching and you still choose to rise. Rise, not to prove them wrong, but to prove yourself right. Rise, not because you're special, but because you're committed. Rise, because that is who you are now. Not someone who waits, not someone who wishes, not someone who wonders what it would be like. You are someone who works, someone who builds, someone who finishes what they start. You are not fueled by moods. You are driven by mission. You are not led by feelings. You are anchored in choice, and that choice is self-discipline. So remember this, you don't need a perfect plan. You don't need the stars to align. You don't need to feel ready. You need only one thing, a decision. A decision to honor your future more than your comfort. A decision to stop betraying the version of you that's still waiting. Waiting to be unleashed. Waiting to be tested. Waiting to be trusted. And here's the truth you've been avoiding. You don't need more motivation. You need a moment of truth. A moment where you look in the mirror and say, no more. No more excuses, no more delays, no more hiding behind someday. Because someday isn't coming. All you have is now. And now doesn't care how you feel. Now doesn't wait for your fear to pass. Now doesn't reward intentions, only execution. So if you want to be free, free from the guilt, free from the regret, free from the version of you that always stops just short of greatness, then you have to become something stronger than your struggle, more loyal to your purpose than your pleasure, more faithful to your goals than to your distractions. And that is the price. That is the deal. Discipline in exchange for destiny, structure in exchange for freedom, sacrifice in exchange for legacy. Because yes, it will cost you. It will cost you your laziness, your procrastination, your self-pity. It will cost you relationships that can't grow with you, habits that keep you numb, stories you've told yourself for years to stay small. But what you gain is everything. You gain clarity, direction, momentum, energy, respect. Not from others, from yourself. That deep, powerful, sacred self-respect that only comes when you've kept your word day after day after day in the dark. That's when your identity shifts. That's when you go from I want to be to I am. I am disciplined. I am focused. I am relentless. I am forged, not born. I am the architect of my own rise. And make no mistake, you are rising. Even if no one sees it yet, even if the world hasn't clapped for you, even if your progress is silent and slow, brick by brick, rep by rep, day by day, you are becoming something unshakable. You are building an inner empire no one can steal. No failure can topple. No storm can destroy. Because you built it through discipline. And one day, when the world asks how you did it, how you became so focused, so powerful, so grounded, you'll smile. Not because it was easy, but because it was earned. Because you showed up when it hurt. Because you stood up when you wanted to stay down. Because you chose truth over comfort, vision over chaos, discipline over default. And in that moment, with everything inside you sharpened, hardened, and holy, you'll realize this isn't the end. This is only the beginning. The beginning of what happens when nothing controls you but your conviction. When the noise fades, the opinions fade, the fear fades. And what's left is a soul on fire with the clarity of who you've become. So let the world chase comfort. Let them worship ease. Let them fold at the first sign of effort. You are carved from a different stone. You are disciplined, and that means you're unstoppable. Now rise and keep going.